Showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Okay, people, it's showtime!
All right, everybody, it's showtime.
All right, everybody, it's showtime.
Now take your position. It's showtime.
Hey, heads up, everybody! It's showtime!
Oh, it's time!
All right, ladies, buckle up. It's showtime.
Here we go, showtime.
Okay, fellas. Showtime.
Okay, it's showtime.
Ed Berliner, the fastest show in sports.
Greetings, true believers. Welcome back into the fastest show in sports. I am your host. I am the ringmaster. I am the guy with his finger on the pulse and on the buttons every single moment of every single day, which is frightening because that means I decide where we go. He, of course, is former Washington Post, New York Times, ESPN, everybody, everywhere, bon vivant, vichyssoise, man about town, Mike Wise, and we are here once again. You like that, man? I got that all in there. And
That's good. That's a good opening.
It is.
I'll take it.
It's good. It gets everybody there. Now, we have to at least say something about the maddening nonsense of America right now over a restaurant with a logo. This Cracker Barrel thing has got me screaming. It's astounding to me what social media can do. And we really shouldn't be surprised because we know this is what happens. But it's a nonsensical issue. Now Trump is weighing in. Of course, he has to get involved in everything to get his name in it, telling him, you need to go back. You need to admit your mistake. You need to go back to Cracker Barrel the way it was before. I got news for you. I don't know how many times you've eaten in a Cracker Barrel. I think I've done it maybe 5 times in my life, and it was like, okay. You know, it
Cracker Barrel. I was a big Cracker Barrel fan. It's a larger question for me about like white culture. You know, like everybody talks about like white culture.
Everything,
Cracker Barrel's
no matter how we do it, Mike, no matter how we try and circle around this, everything gets back to culture, whiteness, and woke these days.
Yeah, but
avoid it.
But it's so funny. Like I mean, I don't think there's a better chicken fried steak with gravy and eggs and a biscuit out there than chicken. But the funny thing is and this is gonna sound weird, but you know, sometimes I think to myself, like, you know, what are the good things about white culture? All right, biscuits and gravy, which isn't a hockey sometimes. But like I think to myself, like what doesn't, you know, what makes me proud of being one? I don't know if I'm proud to be, you know, like, but when I think of times when I've like, so I go through that little country store at the end, and of course they got the candy from when you were a kid, like or even farther back than that, like Necco wafers. Nobody sells Necco wafers anymore. They're all chalky and everything.
Nobody eats Necco wafers anymore.
But some people, it reminds them of their childhood, or they'll have lemon drops or something that was in your grandma's candy jar in her ottoman when you were 5. And what it is it's the candy. It's the candy that reminds old white people of when the Jim Crow laws were around and when the black and brown people swept the floors. And when they were, it's like, no, I mean, Cracker Barrel is everything MAGA that you can imagine. I'm just saying, like, I used to make jokes about, you know, what happened, you know, make America great again.
Oh man.
You know, this is what it really meant. It meant to me that, you know, this is how they all got together. A couple of them were sitting at a Cracker Barrel, and I used to write this before the Cracker Barrel thing. That they'd be in the back of the Cracker Barrel. They'd be angry at society, angry at different racial groups taking over their world, and they'd just be pissed off at the world. But at least they were confined to that back area of the Cracker Barrel. Well, they started getting together online, and then Trump came along and brought them to rallies, and that's how we got MAGA, was Cracker Barrel.
Well,
that's why you don't want to go back.
I mean, it's all just a part of it. Cracker Barrel is
that's
part
why
of what has destroyed the very firmament of America.
That's why you awful racist, bigoted people don't want the logo change.
And here's what they will never tell you. What they will never tell you is when you go through that store at Cracker Barrel, when you go in there and you try and find all these little gewgaws and statues and all these little things, turn them over sometime. Guess what you'll see? Made in China.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, you can take the cracker and the barrel off the logo, but you can't take the let's see. Yeah, you can't take the racist out of the cracker or something like
Oh
that. I don't
man.
know what the.
See,
I guess I'm just saying. Look, I get it. I mean, I don't get the fact that you want to go back to that place.
I
I
don't
get
get the
if you've
furor
ever.
about it, though. I mean, that's the whole thing here. It's
It's
a
no,
restaurant with a logo. Stop. And the only
it's
people
an
complaining
assault.
every time I look on social media are those going, here's Cracker Barrel going woke. They're changing everything.
No,
They're
no,
going
no.
away from
The
good
people.
old-fashioned America.
I mean, these people are sick. They want to bring back the Native American woman on Land O'Lakes butter. They want to bring back the mammy on Aunt Jemima, the slave that cooked the cream of wheat. Like these things are important to them. They represent a part of their culture that's so frickin' warped. I want to honor my ancestors too, but I don't do it by smoking cigarettes, getting drunk until I drop, or eating all these fried foods like my dad did. It
Well,
frickin'
it's not
the
only that,
glugging
but
the bourbon wasn't good for him.
here we have this whole issue about now all of a sudden there's a thinking process that we need to stop burning the American flag. And Trump is all over the American flag now. Donald Trump breaks the law or the spirit of the law every single time he puts his signature on an American flag. Nothing is supposed to deface the American flag. You're not supposed to use it. And if you go back and look at the flag laws, you're not supposed to use it as T-shirts. You're not supposed to use it as underwear. You're not supposed to use it as bandanas. The whole idea is the American flag does not get despoiled by using it in such a manner. But here we have people not only wanting to say, let's get more Donald Trump signed flags, but now here we have a member of Congress, Mike, who is now putting forth a bill to put Donald Trump's face on Mount Rushmore. It can't happen. Look, I was watching a story last night on NBC.
Well, we joke around a lot about this stuff, and obviously
It's all part
you're
of the
probably
same
more
nonsense.
Yeah, you're more middle of the road than I am. I don't like
Yes, I am.
militancy on either. I don't like militancy on either side. I definitely lean left. I don't go harder to my left than James Harden, but I do lean left. But it's just this stuff about like the police forces in D.C. I lived in D.C. for several years. There's a bad area. There's a bad area in Hattiesburg, Mississippi right now.
Yes.
It's got a worse murder rate than Chicago. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, it's interesting to me that somehow making America great again always dovetails towards making America whiter again. It's so obvious. And the authoritarian stuff, look, people can say what they want about, oh, he's going to be out of here in 3 or 4. I don't care what happens in 3 or 4 years. If you're trying to do away with elections, which is what is happening with these redrawing of the in the gerrymandering, if you're trying to take
fixing
over
it.
cities by force, if you're trying to take over your opposition cities where the leader of that city is the opposite political party and doesn't like you as their president, if you're trying, that's authoritarianism. You're on your way. Like, this is not a joke anymore. So this is why I self-deported to Panama. I self-deported, Ed.
You do know, of course, that in the spirit of factual nature here, you were sort of dragged to Panama. Yes.
Well, okay, yeah. The wife got the job, but then I didn't have to go along with it. I could have got a divorce, or I could have just let her go by herself with the kids.
You can't
and then
get
I would
a
have been
divorce.
dead.
She's the one footing
But
the
you know
bill
what's
right
worse?
now.
But you know what's worse than being a deadbeat dad and an absentee husband and father?
Being a deadbeat sportscaster, but that's another story.
It's worse. It's worse being in America. It's worse living in America right now, Ed. That's why I self-deported.
Okay, now that we've lost everybody at the front end of the show, everybody, we'll attempt to bring them back here, because if we're going to talk about politics, let's go ahead and add a sports side to it right now, because this is something else that it just kind of captures me. Donald Trump has demanded from his presidential chair that the Baseball Hall of Fame induct Roger Clemens. And oddly enough, he does this the day after he plays golf with Clemens and Clemens' kid, and then Clemens comes out and thanks him. So they play this back and forth little love relationship between the two of them. He has a great golf game, which of course he's spending more time on the golf course than he is spending doing anything else, but that's another story altogether. But then he comes out and says Clemens in the Hall of Fame. No, absolutely not. Roger Clemens was guilty of perjury. Roger Clemens was mentioned in the original steroids report. He was mentioned by the trainer who talked about it. Roger Clemens was involved in the steroid era, and he never gets into the Hall of Fame. Unless, and Mike, I've even said this a couple of times, why not just at the Hall of Fame have a corner, a spot that represents the steroid era in baseball and says, these are the players who were involved, who were thought to be involved, and explain the whole thing to it. But baseball can't explain itself and really can't tell the story of the game until they admit that they allowed the steroid issue to happen. They covered it up. They tried to basically walk away from it because they knew it was helping the game. I mean, that goes back to the Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa time when we got more people than ever watching the game because they're launching baseballs out of every ballpark they touch. And baseball loved it. It was selling tickets.
And then you
can't
Barrett,
tell the
and then
history
you got
of
Barrett.
baseball without telling the history of steroids.
Yeah, no, you're right. And there's still guys who use performance enhancers. The whole deal with professional athletes at that level is what I said before is you walk right up to the line of these pharmacological gray zones and you figure out what you can take and what you can't that's going to ban you. Now, but let's be clear about this, because Jeff Passan of ESPN, who I respect as a baseball writer, he's been around for a while, and he's done great work. He's of the opinion that all these guys should get in because everybody used. That's not true. That not everybody used. Ken Griffey Jr. has never been accused or if showed up in a Mitchell report or anything. He was he never used performance nobody ever tied him to performance enhancers in any shape or form. There are other great players that didn't do it. So what these guys did, and people look at it now as they just were giving themselves an extra jolt. No, Barry Bonds, when he got to the plate in San Francisco at the end, it looked like the bearded lady. It was like this big neck, and all the people in San Francisco at the ballpark were complicit because all they wanted to see was that little ball go into the water at McCovey Cove.
The fans were complicit.
And it was just sort of like, let's see that,
baseball was
right. They don't care
because they were all just going like this. Hey, look, another home run. Count the ticket prices.
Yeah,
Here we
and
go.
so
More
it's just
watching.
So Texas. But I was going to say, Roger Clemens is a Texas-sized fraud. I covered him on Capitol Hill during his appearance before a congressional committee. They didn't indict him. They didn't. I don't. Was he actually guilty of perjury in the court of law? Is he what? So either way, everybody knows he used. The fact that he never came out like A-Rod or Big Papi and said, yeah, it was not a good decision, but I did. And I was trying to keep up with the Joneses in my business, because that's what it was really about. All these guys after McGwire and Sosa realized and Canseco, the benefits of sure, if you can work out harder and longer, and you can hit and your warning track power can turn into grand salami power. Those guys. That's why they did it. But you also stole fame, wealth from others that didn't. You also gave a generation of kids that should not even be putting the shit in their bodies. You gave them an opportunity to go down to Mexico on these roid runs where they go to Guadalajara and get some veterinarian grade stuff and come back and and then get on these withdrawals and kill themselves. You ever remember Bert Hooton? Remember that name? His nephew was a burgeoning pitcher. His father was Don Hooton.
Yes.
Okay. Don Hooton was his father. He hung himself. He was a big-time high school pitcher in Texas. He had a picture of Barry Bonds over his bed. He thought that he was doing what his heroes were supposed to do.
I actually went to Texas and interviewed Don Hooton and still stay in touch with him from time to time. And it was obvious even to him then when I interviewed him that his son was trying to, quote unquote, and paraphrasing, of course, keeping up with the Joneses. The kid saw that in order to do this, he had to jack up. And that's the one thing that you bring up that everybody always looks past in the steroid era. It's not even necessarily put aside for a minute all the tremendous amounts of money, all the fame and everything that a lot of these players made by jacking up and juicing up. Let's remember that there were kids watching them. And you know something, Mike, every time I've gotten involved in this discussion, I've had some people go, don't worry about it. Kids are resilient, man. You don't have to worry about it. The kids don't take that to heart. Yeah. Yes, they do. The kids look there at the muscles, the home runs, the player who signs their ball. And you can always look at what they have. It's that residual effect of what athletes have on society. And that's the effect that they had, where they helped to turn a generation. And of course, somebody's going to say, well, prove it. I can't go out and do stats. I can only talk about what
I could show you death. I could show you deaths that were related, that were because of steroid abuse, and or like there was a great story in the New York Times years ago about these Dominican young kids, teenagers that were in the farm system, and they tried to build their bodies up, and eventually two of them died. They had a big funeral in the Dominican. There was a huge deal about it, and they said that they got the steroids from the U.S. and different places. These were kids. There was a kid in Vacaville, California. God, I wish I remembered his name. Same thing. Wanted to juice up. Took him, got in on and off the cycle. So it's one thing if you have a synthetic chemist you can employ, and a person that actually tells you when to take them and when to not. It's still not
like Bonds did. And
technically safe.
Well, they all had trainers who were helping them. That's the whole Balcom.
Right. And so that's what it was about. These kids didn't. And so, at any rate, that you get off the cycle and you go, and when you're an adolescent, you go through these huge mood swings. The steroid withdrawal exacerbates that, and a lot of these kids killed themselves, Ed.
Yes.
They killed themselves because they believed that the answer to their athletic problems were going to be solved by the same things that their heroes were taking.
It's this is the same argument that I bring up all the time with Pete Rose. For many, many years, I said the same thing. Pete Rose, first of all, when they say he was not in the Hall of Fame, that's wrong, because Pete Rose, before anything else, was mentioned several times because of records. So his name was in the Hall of Fame for certain records he said. But I always said for years, Pete Rose gets into the Hall of Fame the minute, the instant, the second Pete comes out and says, I bet on baseball. I did it. I broke the rules. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done it. But Pete never came out and said that. He always obfuscated the point and tried to stay away from it. And yeah, maybe later in life he said, well, maybe I did gamble, maybe I didn't. Yeah. He never come out and admitted it. The steroid users just come out and admit it. It's like I covered the Boston Red Sox in their World Series run back in the early O's. And I got to be friends with all those guys, including David Ortiz. And I can't tell you how many times the rumors flew around the locker room about who was using, what was using, and why they were using. And I've had people say to me, well, you're a Red Sox fan. If you don't want Clemens in the Hall of Fame, and if you don't want Bonds in the Hall of Fame, then if David Ortiz used steroids, he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame either. And I said, you're right. It doesn't make a difference what I rooted for. You have to hold one accountable. You hold them all accountable. But here we have the President of the United States saying, don't worry about it. He might have destroyed he might have influenced a whole bunch of kids later on in his life. He might have been a drug addict. Don't worry about it. You got to put him in the Hall of Fame. And here's a note, Donald. He can't go into the Hall of Fame until one of the new committees votes him in. He had less than 70% the last time that he was allowed to be in for a regular vote. They've got another committee that's going to come up, made up of unknown people who are going to decide who from a certain era gets in. It's not going to happen. You can't just stick somebody in the Hall of Fame by executive order. So stick the executive order right up your ass, because it can't happen. Do something else. Instead of worrying about Roger Clemens being in the Hall of Fame, run America, for goddamn sake. Do what's supposed to be done in this country and do it right.
Woo! Ed Berliner going political on us. All right, so before as we wind up that segment, I agree with you. A set, a juiced section of the Hall of Fame is the way to do it. You just call it the steroid era, and you mention in a couple paragraphs that these players used. Though they played exemplary, they were under a cloud of suspicion, and later they were found out to be using those players cast aspersions over an entire generation. Some guys didn't. Some guys never went to the major leagues because they decided against the risks of health and their own careers and their own lives further on, because they didn't do it. And so those guys should be penalized? No. But you should mention that that's how they got there. And the sad thing with Bonds and Clemens, there's a lot of guys who use that you never heard of. Those guys could have never put a single ounce of the clear or the cream or anadrone or any of the big powerful steroids into their body, or the syringes and the pills, and they would have made the Hall of Fame because they were that good.
See, that's always a good question, too, about Bonds, because when you look at Bonds and you look at his career before he juiced up, there are people who would say that he was a prototypical baseball player for his era. He had all the tools. He was a 5-tool player. And there's always the thinking that he would have gone into the Hall of Fame even if he hadn't juiced. I don't know. I'd like to think that that's the case.
Oh, yeah.
But
his numbers were on, I'm not a numbers guy, but his numbers were on par. Let's say for all that,
Yeah, they weren't
and
exceptional,
had he stayed healthy, he would have never been the fraudulent home run king. Hank Aaron still holds the title in my book.
It always comes down to the fact that there's other players who are out there. It's like Mark McGwire. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to over the years. No disparaging of McGwire. I've only met him once and interviewed him. But there's so many people who say that without the juice, Mark McGwire would never have been a star player. He just didn't have it. And so whether or not you become that because of the juice or not, I don't know. It's one of those great questions where we just suppose on and off. But at the end of the day, let's just say no. Clemens doesn't get in, end of story, move on.
Yeah. Well, I got to be a real confession here. I'm on Anavar and Dynabol right now, and it's helping me through these segments. I'm talking faster, clearer, and I'm making my points better.
I have noticed, too, that you seem to be bulking up just a little bit. You seem to...
Yeah, look at the size of my head.
I know.
Look at the size of my head.
The size of your head is increasing every single show that we do.
My neck.
It wouldn't be pork rinds, would it?
Well, it's probably.
Oh, okay.
And chorizo.
Okay, and what?
Chorizo sausage.
Oh, okay.
It's really good down here.
Okay.
It's very good down here.
Okay, I'm just making sure. There's a moment where all of a sudden something just snaps and goes, I don't know if I want to go on. Let's just go home. After you do Cracker Barrel and Roger Clemens in the same sentence. All right. I'm not quite sure. See, I'm not a fan of wrestling. I'm not. When I was a kid, I watched it in New York City. We used to watch Bruno Sammartino, the man who had more hair on his back than any living human being on the face of the planet. And we used to have fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you could hide snacks in that hair on his back.
How did he put on a shirt, for crying out loud? Because he was covered in so much hair. It was like almost aboriginal in so many ways. But we kind of looked at it and it was okay, fun. I mean, that was the era too when we thought roller derby was real, and that wasn't real either, and wrestling wasn't real. So I'm not a fan
roller derby was cool though.
See, roller derby was kind of cool, and also made me pick up a pair of skates, and I later played in a roller derby, an unofficial roller derby league where I was good.
You were James Caan in rollerball.
I was dangerous. I was part of the James Caan era, yes, and all that rollerball. But never been a fan of wrestling. It's okay if it goes on. I don't go to WrestleMania. I wasn't one of those people. But there comes a time when you have to start separating what happens in the ring with what happens in real life. And the story that we've been following here the last couple of days, and you brought this up, is one that I think bears a lot of discussion. There's a guy named Roger Jackson. He is a He is a son of a former wrestler called Rampage, I believe. And again,
Rampage, yeah.
I don't know everything about it. He was at an event recently featuring a wrestler by the name of Psycho Stu Smith. And apparently Jackson was invited. He's not a wrestler. He's more MMA, I guess. And there was an incident earlier in the card where Smith apparently slammed an empty beer can into Jackson's head as part of the whole shtick. Now, we all know, and let's be honest, anybody who tells you that wrestling isn't fake hasn't been watching. It's choreographed. You're supposed to do certain things at certain times.
Yeah.
But it got out of hand at this point where Jackson went off after the guy and started to wail on him. And for those of you watching on the YouTube channel right now, this is the video of that moment. That's Jackson in the white shirt. That's one of the other wrestlers trying to tear him off. But as you see, and you'll see it again, he basically took Smith, slammed him to the mat, and then came in with a number of punches. Now, let's do this. If you look, Mike, a lot of the punches did not land. I was looking real close. I would say maybe half the punches landed. The other half were air punches. But in the end, it sends Smith to the hospital. There's a GoFundMe page for him. He was terribly injured in all this when Jackson started to wail on him. And for me, this has to bring up the discussion of when does what happens inside a sporting arena basically, and there's the slam again, come into real life. This is assault, Mike. And you could even say assault with a deadly weapon, depending on whether or not you list the guy's fist as a deadly weapon. But this is out of hand. This is not wrestling. This isn't fun.
Yeah, I saw the original clip, the can incident's kind of like out of the blue. I didn't know that was part of the script. I mean, he really crushes a huge can on his head, and the guy, the Jackson guy's kind of like, what's up? What are you doing? And he was very upset about it. And he's supposed to, I guess it was all part of the thing. And there's another wrestler who basically egged on the Raja Jackson guy, and that he later said that was just part of the show. He didn't really egg him on to really hurt the guy. And so I don't know, like when I was a kid, I used to watch wrestling. And the funny thing is, my favorite wrestler was this guy named Rocky Johnson. Rocky Johnson was in the Bay Area, and there used to be Bay Area wrestling. That's where I thought and he'd wrestle these guys. And Peter Maivia was one of the guys. And anyway, so I kind of, after I became an adolescent, I was sort of like, okay, this is ridiculous. I think my father got tickets to one big show in Honolulu. And it was fun, it's every bad racial stereotype. Mr. Fuji, I get on Mr. Fuji, and the black guy, the black guys are like the tag team is like crime time, and then the white guys are like Big Country Jack, Psycho Stu Smith,
Sure.
like it just every bad racial stereotype that could be out there.
Wrestling,
right? And it's sort of like it's all fake. But it plays into these bad stereotypes or whatever. If people want to enjoy it, that's how they get their kicks. To me, it's like going to you don't become a mass shooter because you go play Fortnite at a video game parlor. You blow off some steam with your friends. That's it. But this kind of stuff, I've watched it several times, and it's really disturbing. Yeah, it's over the top. It's awful. It's awful, but it brings to light, how this stuff, all this ugliness is really percolating beneath. I mean, I think about all the times that the awful things said to different wrestlers, racially and otherwise. I did a story on Booker T. Washington, some guy that was Booker Washington, they called him Book. He was 5-time world champion. He had his big moment. The WWE signed him up or whatever it was, and he was who's the guy in charge of the WWE now?
Well, that was Vince McMahon for many years.
Yeah, but his son-in-law is now is in charge of it, and he's a big-time wrestler, and he basically was supposed. He
Triple
thought
H.
Booker, huh?
Triple H.
Triple H, right? Triple H, you got it. Triple H, and this was supposed to be the moment like Booker, becomes the first black WE champion or something after The Rock, and it's like a big moment. And of course, the script is Triple H beats Book, and he's kind and even talking to him about it years later, like he said, yeah, I was in the script, that's what I had to do. He was bummed. He was bummed that he could not be, whatever, get that fandom, whatever the money is and all that. And I think that he was genuinely bummed by it. And so look, there's no excuse for somebody going overboard like that. But when you see the guy's the beer can crushed on his head, and
that's
he's
part
not
of the
ready
act,
for
though,
it.
Mike. That's part of the act.
Did he know that was part of the script?
We don't know. Now, according to the story, Smith apparently, allegedly, apologized to Jackson after he did the can incident.
And they shook hands.
But apparently then all this came later because Jackson was going to mete out a little justice and a little revenge. We don't know, and again, we don't know if this was part of the script too. Yeah, I know Smith is sitting there and he's in the hospital right now and they got a GoFundMe page, but I'm going to play Mr. Skeptic at the moment here when it comes to wrestling. There's a lot of it that's fake and a lot of it was planned. Was it planned for Jackson to come in and pile on him? Did Jackson actually injure him? I haven't seen a medical report yet.
Well, wait. We just saw the tape. You played that tape several times for everybody that's on the YouTube. And at least a couple of those punches landed flush. The guy was unconscious. I mean, he was legitimately unconscious. He lost a couple teeth apparently. Now, I don't know. You're right. Like, was that part of? If there's a GoFundMe page, is Psycho Stu Smith? Is he like a low level guy that doesn't make any money? I'm sorry. If I'm going to spend, I'm not saying that nobody deserves anything, but doesn't he have insurance? If you're going to spend money on a GoFundMe page on a wrestler? He better be on life support or need a liver transplant, because I'm not sending my money to some guy that is a professional wrestler and got in the ring and something happened to him inside his own profession. Come on. We got a lot of people hurting in this country. Psycho Stu Smith is at the bottom of my list.
Well, it brings up the other thing that I talked about here. Where do we separate what becomes an assault from a sport? Now, I mean, we can blow this open.
Here's the art.
Because here you have, and somebody will always say to me, first off, but Ed, you're a big hockey fan. What about fighting? Anybody attacks somebody in a fight in a hockey game, shouldn't that be assault? I would argue back and say it's part of the sport and part of the game, and it's allowed in the rules. Well, it's not technically allowed in the rules. It goes back and forth.
There have been guys that have been charged criminally in hockey. I mean, Marty McSorley, when he hit Donald Brashear with his and knocked him cold that was the end of Marty McSorley's career in Vancouver, and the end of his NHL career.
Be arrested. I mean, that's the point of it. I mean, it wasn't.
This guy should be arrested.
Okay,
this guy should be arrested.
Why?
He should.
It's a sport.
No, but he should be arrested because he broke the code of real physical violence. And the guys. This isn't a choreographed skit when he starts laying him out and he's just laying there like that.
We don't know.
It wasn't fake punches. But here's my defense. If I'm Raja Jackson, I'm getting a lawyer to tell me, look, I was egged on by one of the guys in the script. I went a little too far, but this was all part of it. And maybe I got too overzealous. I can't imagine him spending a day in jail for this.
Wait a minute, look at something. I want you to watch something. I'm going to play it again. I want you to watch Jackson after he slams Smith down to the canvas, and then I want you to watch his hands when he is starting to punch him. And start counting the times that he throws air punches. Doesn't connect. Now, if you're going to beat somebody up and if you're going to get them and they're on the ground, you're going to hit them. There's a lot of times here where a lot of these punches don't even touch Smith. Watch.
All right, boom.
That hit.
Boom.
That hit. Miss.
No, there's at least four straight punches to the face that are as hard as he could possibly hit him.
Correct.
Come on, he knocked
it.
The guy is unconscious.
Well.
The guy is unconscious. He doesn't get up, Ed.
But there's also fake punches in there, so don't. And because wrestling is basically made on a script, how much of this is real? And did Jackson basically go over script? Was a script to beat him? Was a script to put him in the hospital? How many times have we seen in wrestling where professional wrestlers have had to go to the hospital and people will say, "Oh, that's part of the script"? I mean, we just don't know.
Unless we find out that Psycho Stu Smith had some kind of a punch repelling mask on his face. Like, come on, Ed. This guy, he nails him. The first 3 or 4, the first 3 or 4 or 5 are malicious.
Now that right there, he hits him 5 times, misses a bunch of punches, and then we saw it right there where it comes back, and it's his right hand where he comes back and nails him a few times. Here, hang on a sec. I'm going to see if I can just bring this back. I don't know if
it's just, to me, it's gratuitous violence. I've seen it so much. I just can't.
Well, but again, it comes back to this whole
like anybody that's got somebody defenseless in a ground and pound situation.
Then he should be arrested.
I've been there in elementary school on the bottom. I haven't been on top much, but it's no fun. And you can't do anything because someone's pinning your arms down while they're punching you. So I'm just not. Look, the guy should be arrested. He should go. He should spend a night or 2 in lockup, or after they pay bail. But the idea of him going to jail for any length of time.
Mike. What? He did it in a sport. He did it in the competition of the sport. Whether or not there are any rules or not, how can you say that he's guilty of assault when he does what everybody else is doing technically as part of a script in wrestling? That's the game.
Yeah, but that's not. But hitting someone with malice isn't part of the script.
Okay, but did he hit it with malice, or was this part of the script? I hate to keep going back to that.
I don't think you're the only person in America today, and maybe the world, that is looking at that and going, "Yeah, I think that's a fake punch that just clocked him and knocked him out."
Well, there were some punches that
you may be the only person that thinks that's a fake punch.
I saw it, and I'm not saying it was all staged.
Well, who else is saying that? I haven't seen anybody say that those are fake punches.
Well, they're not looking. Didn't you see the ones that were missed? They were ones that were missed.
I mean, after the damage was done and the guy's like lost teeth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it comes down again to the arrest factor, and it's all because again you'll go right back to it. National Hockey League, you go overboard, you hit somebody. Football, what about that? What about Shiloh Sanders, who throws a punch at somebody, which we're going to get into here in a moment.
Well, you can't
when it's not.
But you're analogizing actual competition versus entertainment. This was like an actor on a set. This was an actor on a set that went off script and started clocking whatever De Niro because he didn't like how he acted, or Matt Damon when he goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs sometimes on sets, and he goes into Rage Boy. That's what that is.
That's do it as much as Christian Bale did.
This is entertainment. Wrestling has always been entertainment. Real wrestling exists in the Olympics. Okay. That's it.
So hang on, I'm going to play what you just said. So because this is entertainment more than sports, then we need to let this go because it's part of the entertainment and it is not part of an assault on anybody. No. So then you don't arrest him.
The entertainment is not malicious violence. It's sort of the idea is sort of like fake kicking somebody, ducking when somebody so they throw you into the turnbuckle. It's a dance. It's like going to a performative dance. And if you think about it, you go to a performative dance and all of a sudden the person with the kitchen drapes that they're watching around with a swan just takes those kitchen drapes and puts it around somebody and choking them to death. And you think, geez, this isn't what I expected.
It's entertainment.
I mean, I haven't been to any performative dance things lately, but I'll gladly go with you.
I tend to think that you would be an excellent individual for performative dance. I have not seen you in full dance mode, but I tend to think that you would be perfect for it. You have the perfect body shape, the perfect psyche for it. You have the perfect head for it. I mean, everything would be perfect at that point. Now, I mentioned his name. I did
karaoke this weekend. I just thought I'd drop that.
Yeah, you didn't record it, did you?
Yeah, I did actually. I have a. You want it?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right.
I mean, if you want, send it to me. We'll feature it in an upcoming show, and you'll go viral.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Good. I mentioned his name. I mentioned his name a couple minutes ago, so let's talk about it. The Sanders boys in the National Football League. We have to get down to this because in one weekend, I think they showed both why they don't deserve a chance at the National Football League and maybe why they do deserve a chance. First of all, let's take Shiloh Sanders. Shiloh Sanders was not actually going to be somebody who was an automatic to make the Tampa Bay Bucs roster in the first place. But he comes out, he throws a punch at a receiver afterwards, after the play is done, and he gets ejected for it. Next day, the Buccaneers release him. Now, to be fair, as we're taping this show, the Bucs could pick him up again. They just released him. They can bring him back in on a free agent contract if they want. But let's deal with Shiloh first. He's a marginal player to begin with, and immediately people are coming out and saying, well, the reason he got ejected was because he's Deion Sanders' kid, and it's a revenge factor for the National Football League, and the officials got it in for him. Will you people stop with this absolute, frightening, unbelievable, nonsensical bullshit? He basically showed that he does not have the wherewithal to be an NFL player, to control his emotions, to keep it in check, and if you do something like that in a game, you can cost your team. And he's not that good a player. He's okay, but he's not the type that a team is going to sacrifice for.
That's the key right there. You just said Shiloh Sanders is not Ndamukong Suh. He's not Bill Romanowski, who really did some awful things to some other people in the game, and they shouldn't have probably been able to continue playing. But their talent was so what do I want to say?
Their talent was evident.
Are my frozen up on your side or just my side? Is this my side?
Yeah, no, you're frozen up on my side too. There you go. You're back.
Okay. So yeah, if I don't care if you're, Deion's son or anybody, if you're not that good and you're trying to make a roster, just keep your head down, your nose up, and do what they tell you to do, and don't do something stupid to get thrown out of a game or get penalized, get your team penalized. That they want you to be disciplined within those chaotic moments, because that's how you make a team. All right. So all I got to say is
the delineating line between being a good college player and being a good professional football player is not as thin as you might imagine. That's a pretty thick line a lot of times. And you got to toe that line, and you got to prove that you can be part of that exclusive club that is professional players in the National Football League. It's the height of the sport. If you can't control your emotions, if you do something stupid, a coach is going to look and say, if we're sitting down here and there's 8 seconds to go in a game and I got him do that on a 4th and long, and all of a sudden he gives the other team a first down because he throws a punch and gets kicked out of the game. I don't want him on my team. I can deal with any other guys out here who are just as talented. Yeah. Well, maybe not even they're just as talented, but I know they're going to play the system. That's what the NFL wants, Mike. You have to toe that line, and you have to be part of what they want. Shiloh Sanders is not. And let me just add this too. I wish him no ill will. If he goes out and gets picked up by a team, I hope he does. I hope he gets picked up by another team. I hope he comes out. I hope he proves everybody wrong. And I hope he makes a great National Football League career for himself. But if he doesn't, he screwed it up. It's his fault, not anybody else's.
Well, by the way, before we, this show could go viral. There's a lightning show right now in Panama. I've got all this crazy weather in the background. It's amazing. I mean, literally, I could die of a lightning strike right now on camera, and I think it would just be awesome for ratings.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. Do you have a broom somewhere that may have a metal handle?
Oh, you're trying to conduct lightning.
Well,
and that's scary.
You're the one who said it could be great for ratings if you get struck by lightning. So I'm just trying to. I'm helping you, Mike. Are
you seeing this behind me?
I'm just. You got lightning. Hey, come to South Florida sometime. I'll show you lightning, brother. You want to see lightning and storms?
Yeah. And then we go on to Shador.
Well, let's go on to Shador here. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically you come up with this, just the good old boys, never meaning no harm. That's what happens when you end up being Deion Spawn. Come on, you guys are idiots. Like Shador Sanders, another guy. Shador Sanders, you have a bad game. what's that thing Coach K always says? Next play. We
Put it
if you
aside
worry
and go to
about
the
the play
next play.
before, whether you threw down a dunk or you've had an ugly turnover, it's the next play. It's the
Right.
next game. It's the next practice. Like the fact that I get it. When you're young, everything seems so like, if you've ever had a girlfriend break up with you as a young teen, you feel like your world is over. But at some point you realize, oh, okay, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I'm not gonna lose my NFL career in the preseason here. You are if you snivel and you have these little press conferences about like whatever happened. Like, shut up and just play.
Well, it's not even the press conferences themselves, it's the pouting. Because here he comes
Yeah.
into the last preseason game and he's not allowed to take snaps in the final drive because the coach wanted to do something else. What does he do? He shines for the cameras there. He pouts on the sidelines. He gets all upset. Then he pouts afterwards whatsoever. I'm with you. Shut up. Be a pro. Okay? You know what it's like to be a pro because your dad was one of the best football players of his generation. So you know what it takes to be a National Football League player. Stop with the nonsense. Stop with the arrogance. And just play the game. So you were out. Guess what? It looks like, and again, this is as we're taping this, Mike, it looks like he's going to make the team anyway, probably as a third-string quarterback, because one's been traded,
Which is
one's
great.
out. Which is great.
Which
Good
is
for him.
great. Yeah, you're in
He made it.
you're a couple snaps away from getting game action during the regular season, and or bad performance by someone, and all of a sudden, well, let's see what Shador's got. Like, this is for a 6th-round draft choice. This is or 5th-round draft choice. This is a very good situation. I think Tom Brady came to camp as the number 3 or 4 quarterback. So I don't, look, just trust the process.
It's this built-in
Don't think
entitlement.
because you got, the whole idea that because your college career was accelerated because your father got you into a good situation. Good for you, and you looked wonderful and amazing. When I knew that Shador Sanders might be in trouble, really, like all the other stuff before, and I do think that there was some NFL collusion, and that I do think some teams just decided we're going to screw this kid somehow. But I think by and
can't
large,
disagree.
I believe that Shador Sanders' career was in doubt this week when Urban Meyer came out and said, "This kid you got to play him. I build the whole team around." You should have seen his quote. It was one of the most. I'm going, if you got Urban Meyer endorsing you, run. I mean, I would reject
quickly
that
as possible.
endorsement. That's like the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio endorsing us. Yeah, well, thanks, Enrique. Shut up.
The whole
Urban
thing
Meyer,
is,
shut up.
it to me, it comes down to the Sanders boys are just acting arrogant and entitled. And in the National Football League, more than any other sport, arrogant and entitled will not get you far. As a matter of fact, it will get you fired in so many ways. Now, again, wait a minute. Let me back up. There are some players who are so supremely talented that they're going to be arrogant and be a little entitled because their talent will overcome the nonsense. Teams will give them a chance. And that's just the way the game works. Because look, the National Football League, the coaches and the owners, they're not in this to be nice. They're not in this to go, hey, come on, Shador, Deion's kid. We're going to bring you on in because we all liked Deion and we all loved it. No! The object here is to win games, win Super Bowls, and make boodles of money, which is what everything is about in the National Football League. And guess what, Shador? If you make the Browns, even if you toil as a third-string quarterback, as Mike just said, you're a couple of snaps away. Look, Joe Flacco is no spring chicken here. I mean, he's going to take a hit somewhere during the season, and he'll be out, and you got a backup in front of you. Oh, stop worrying about the rain. You're fine.
This lightning's getting close, Ed.
Ed, don't worry about it. You're fine. The lightning's getting close.
Right.
It's lightning getting close. It's Deion. Deion Sanders is in there. He's pushing the lightning towards you, Mike.
Oh, by the way, real quick.
Yeah.
Let's be this good old boys. I thought about it, but boys isn't something to call young black men. I mean, let's be. I know it's you can say it's PC or not, but I'm going to take back my boys because I think that sometimes people use boys and thugs, and it's code for young brothers that don't get it, and so I'm going to call them young men.
Well, I think thugs is one thing that's going a little too far, and we've talked about that before. But I think we
But I
call them
mean,
a couple.
but you don't want to call a young black man a boy.
Would you call a young white boy a boy?
No,
Okay, what would you call them? Young men?
young man, yeah.
Okay, long as
I mean, it's like it'd
fair
be
on
one
both
thing if they're
sides.
like, oh, these are my. It's one thing if you say these are my boys. Hey, these are my boys. All right,
Okay,
you know. If they call themselves the Sanders boys, okay. But I don't know. Maybe it's too. Maybe you know what? I need to be unwokeified. And maybe I'm too woke.
I think you said it last week. The wokeness factor. You said something like that. You know, backwards
Yeah.
or backward woke or something like that. It all comes in. But
Yeah, yeah,
just to make sure that we're clear on this, people,
yeah.
I again wish no ill will towards Shedeur Sanders. I've said it before. If he makes the team, good. If he becomes a star, excellent. If he makes a fortune, good for him. But if because of his actions and what he does and his abilities, good or bad, whatever it is, if he doesn't make the NFL and for whatever reason he gets bounced out, that's the game. It's just the way the game is played. And
Yeah.
while I believe that there are some National Football League teams who probably didn't pick him because they had some sort of an animus, I don't think there's a conspiracy factor here, and that's the thing that bothers me when people start throwing that out here. That's ridiculous.
Not just getting a little scared.
Hi, Nacho.
Not you okay?
Yeah, Nacho's okay. Yeah, Broder's down here. He's sleeping, so we'll
All right,
let
okay.
him go. He's sleeping. Tommy Fleetwood wins his first PGA event and wins $10 million.
Yep.
Brilliant, wonderful, love it. Now, if you had a son or a daughter and there were 3 sports that you could push them into, knowing full well what the upside is, the downside is, what they could make, what they could do, what sports would you push them into? Now, I'm going to start this because I thought about this. If I had a son and I wanted to push him into sports, the first thing I would push him to is golf. Less chance of getting his body maimed.
Yeah.
Excellent chance to make a ton of money, a long, long career because these guys don't get hit. So I think that's a good choice to do. The second one is esports, which is now sort of a cop-out in many ways. But a lot of the electrical sports that are out right now, a lot of the virtual sports. Hey, virtual sports, these guys are making millions right now, Mike, and they're sitting in a chair.
I thought esports had its moment. It's done. Do not
No.
say that to my kid. Like
No,
they're
it's
like
not done.
Minecraft and Roblox Central. I'm trying to get them out of the idea that they could make money
But here's
on
the
video
one, though.
games.
The third sport that I would push my kid into would be hockey. Boom! There goes the head. Wait a minute, Ed, that's a sport where people can get injured. They can get maimed. Yeah, but I got news for
Yeah.
you. Hockey players are the best people I've ever met. It is a true team. It is a true family atmosphere. There are friendships that go for decades. So if I had the druthers, I would push him. Now, again, if I had a daughter, I'd probably push her to golf too. And I'd probably push her to the WNBA. And I don't know what that third one is. Maybe I'd push her to hockey as well. But, I mean, if I had a kid, it would I'd have to go to golf because it's a great chance to make $10 million and not get your knees blown out and not get a concussion somewhere. I still have yet to hear a professional golfer get banged for a concussion or to worry about a professional golfer having to worry about CTE later in his or her life. So I think that's the one where you push them.
Well,
what about you?
Well, mine are all selfish related. I'm not worried about their health or their ambitions. I'm worried about my own. I would want my son to be an NBA All-Star, my daughter to be a WNBA All-Star, and or a tennis phenom. So I'll say basketball and tennis because the money and the fame there. And then third, I think even though they hate the sport and they'll never play it, soccer. Because America at some point is going to have a Messi to make the sport nationally uber popular. I mean, it already is in many ways because of the MLS, but it's never going to enter the big revenue 3: hockey, baseball, and football and basketball. The big revenue 4. And so the only way that would happen is if my son became the Cristiano Ronaldo of it. For safety purposes,
the only reason that you're picking these three sports is to make
tennis,
sure
and
that they can
golf.
take care of you in your old age, right? That's it. You're being
Yes.
completely selfish. You want these kids to make
Yes.
millions of dollars so they can put you in a
Not even in my
motorized
old
wheelchair.
age. I want the money now.
But you can't. Your kids are too young. You should have started much younger.
I got a 14-year-old. He's not a phenom in basketball, but I can make him a phenom in tennis or something. I don't know.
You are.
I just need my life paid for, Ed.
You are so greedy. How can you do that to you?
I am.
You're a terrible father.
I am, and they know it, and I know it. But it's something you deal with. I mean, what's the alternative? Leaving the family? I'm not going to do that, Ed. I'd rather be a miserable father.
Last chance. Football is now starting here. I wanted to make sure at least we got to this a little bit. Here we have football. We are now about to be overloaded with college football and pro football every single weekend from now until February. It runs the country. The nation blows itself up every year over football. There's no doubt it's the number one sport in America. But the question now comes down to if you had to force yourself, you could only watch one. You can watch either college football or you can watch pro football. Which one and why?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be awful, and we might lose some audience here. I haven't really watched the NFL for a while. I've watched some big playoff games.
Blasphemy.
I've watched some big playoff games, and I like watching Josh Allen. I like Joe Burrow. I'm going to say right now that I believe the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills will meet for the AFC title game this year. Neither Kansas City nor Baltimore will be involved.
Right, this one.
I actually like the Bills finally winning a Super Bowl. But I'm going to say that I like some of the exciting players in the game. But I'd say the NFL, even though I don't want to give $1 to Roger Goodell's salary, I would say the NFL. College is just sort of, I don't know. I grew up on watching highlights of Notre Dame in Northern California, Lindsey Nelson and Paul Horning. And, Pete Demerly going off.
Holy crap,
Pete Demerly across the middle, and Tom Clements has got him, and the Irish have scored again.
Hey,
in fact, I didn't
realize you were ancient, Wise. You're in your 90s?
I'm so old and so dumb that I actually thought the Sunday morning highlights of Notre Dame football that I telecast in my grandma's living room in Napa, California, I thought it was the real game. So Notre Dame just kept scoring and blocking punts. I thought, oh my God, this is the most amazing team ever. And so therefore I became a Notre Dame fan, and I think I still like them, but college sports is just, it's indentured servitude for young men.
Oh, but wait a minute. Stop that for just a second. I'm just talking about the game itself, forgetting the indentured servitude side of this, okay? The game itself.
I mean, it's fun to watch. Anybody that's been to a big college football Saturday in the SEC or a Notre Dame game or a Big Ten game, it's one of the most memorable parts of their lives. I get it.
Well, that's it. I mean, the crowd at a college football game is so much more interactive than it is at a pro football game. A lot of times you'll have people at NFL games who are sitting on their hands or maybe getting into a fight. But at college games, there's into it. And not only that, the thing that I think I'm kind of pushing towards college a little bit is it's the complete unknown of what will happen. Look, if you've got Tampa Bay and San Francisco, let's just say, playing an NFL game, you know that the chances are really good that San Francisco, 9 times out of 10, the 49ers are going to win that game. Yeah, maybe Tampa Bay every now and then. But if you're watching a college game featuring Hawaii and Stanford, and you go to yourself, oh, no way, Stanford's the big guys from California. They'll take this. Hawaii wins on a last-second field goal. To me, there's an unknown factor of college football. It's that I have no idea how good these kids are. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make great plays. They're going to come back. We're going to have 55 to 54 games that are going to be completely entertaining. And occasionally, look, it's like when Alabama plays, Florida, I think, plays like a team from Long Island in their first game, Long Island University. They're going to beat them by 50 points. They're going to walk away at halftime, and they're going to have a good time. You're going to get the subs lots of time to play. If you're a Gator fan, you're watching
right,
it.
though.
If you're me, you're not. But a game like what we saw between Stanford and Hawaii, I'm watching that game because I have no idea who's going to win that game.
Well,
No chance.
Hawaii was favored in that game, Ed. I just want to let you know.
Well, yeah,
because
I still had no idea. I still
bet
think that
heavily
Stanford is a
on
killer.
I bet heavily on Hawaii, and
I'll bet you did.
No, I'm kidding. I did not. I'm not betting football. I'm not betting sports anymore. It's stupid.
Well, it's
Wow.
there's a whole other conversation about that. I know you will. See,
I know.
Our old buddy Kevin would be on here, and you'd be talking about not betting gambling. Kevin would hit you with a couple of parlays, and you'd be all over it.
Yeah.
You'd be heading for the
you're right.
windows. But I want to see, for whatever reason, I had this conversation with John Fricke recently, my good buddy who knows college football better than absolutely anybody.
Yeah.
And he's so jacked about the college football season. And at the time I said, I'm not really excited about it. Now I'm kind of getting into it, and I'm thinking, there's an unknown factor that's going to make me watch these games. Now, of course, when it gets out of control, when it becomes like 45-0, I'm out of there. And when hockey season starts, well, I'm not watching football. If it's a choice between, and this is going to be terrible, but if it's a choice between the number 1 and number 2 teams in college football over here, and the Bruins are playing over here, like a game against the Rangers in a regular season, I'm watching the hockey.
Well, that's you're in the minority, but okay.
I know, but it's okay to be. It's okay to be different, Mike.
I'm like,
okay.
It's amazing to me that people spend their whole, it's football is religion in America. It's religion in America. It's the military has become involved, so now it's a referendum on patriotism. If you like the NFL, I don't. It's hard for me to get into the games unless I just don't have I don't have any desire to go see a team in person. Football is better in your living room than it'd ever be in the stadium.
I mean, there's a couple of big games I'll watch in the NFL, and because I used to cover the Dolphins, I may watch the Dolphins every now and then. Because I used to cover the Patriots, I still know a lot of people in both organizations. I'll watch the Patriots. But if there's a game that's like Dallas plays Philadelphia, if there's nothing else on, I'll turn it on. But it's not like I have to be glued to the screen just to watch it. The only reason I'd watch it is to root for Philadelphia, to hope that they beat the Cowboys. Because anytime the Cowboys and Jets lose, it's a good Sunday.
Yeah.
All right. Reminder once again, don't forget you can look right on the bottom of the screen here. You can find out where to get us on YouTube. The fastest show in sports. You see every episode and every full episode and bonus item as well. Plus, there's all the podcasts. Let me see. iTunes, Amazon, Podbean, Spotify, iHeart, Odyssey, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts, you can download. Please go there and subscribe. No bets this week? You're no betting this weekend. Okay, good.
No.
I just wanted to make sure. Mike Wise has survived the thunderstorm and the lightning storm in Panama. Look at that, man. He did it for you, America, and for the rest of the world because he knows you desperately need this. For Mike Wise, I'm Ed Berliner in the fastest show in sports. Till next time, rock on, true believers. See ya.
That's all, folks.